All right on folks, John Crane here in my shop, and today's video is all about heat guns. Now I've got 4 heat guns here on the bench that I want to show you guys, and these are 4 heat guns that get a lot of use in my shop. And it's not that one of these heat guns is better than the other, they all kind of have their own purpose and use here in the shop. And I got to taking these all out, and I got to doing a little testing that I think you guys are going to find interesting. Is I took out this multimeter and I got a temperature probe on it, and I actually took the readings of what these get up to, how hot each of these heat guns get, and I think it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to go over each of these heat guns, what I use it for here in the shop, and I'm going to show you the findings that I found on how hot each one of these gets. So, all right, let's get busy, right? We got the Conair, we got this little mini heat gun, we got this Wagner, and all the way up to this Leister gun. This is from Switzerland. These things go for about 600 bucks. They're not cheap, but they do get really hot. So, all right, let's dive into it. I'm gonna save this one for last. Let's start here with the Farrah Fawcett hairdo hairdryer. All right, here we go. First up on the docket, I'm telling you, do not throw out that old 80s hairdryer that you found in the attic or the bottom of that bathroom drawer. Conair Pro Style 1600. Now, this kind of started me making this whole video because I went over to Goodwill and I found another one just the other day. And you can see here, $7.99. So you can grab one of these for fairly cheap. And I really like this kind of hairdryer, heat gun, I should say, here in the shop, because I tell you, this has so many uses as far as drying paint, sometimes spray paint. I'm going to blow dry it real quick. Dry it out, get it to evaporate. Contact cement, sometimes I'm using the old barge cement. I put a layer of this on. Sometimes I like to put 2 coats of this on, and I like to dry it real quick. This is a great blow dryer to do that with, and I really like the controls on this blow dryer. You can see it has 4 different settings. We got cold, warm, hot, very hot. Right, we got the on-off at the bottom. All the way up is cold, right? Medium, hot, and very hot. But I like the controls because they're very intuitive. Let's go over now and check out the temperature findings from the John Crane laboratory. Okay, the multimeter only reads in Celsius. So on the low temperature setting, we got 100 degrees Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit. On the medium setting, we're getting 70 degrees Celsius, which is 158 Fahrenheit. And then the high setting, we're getting 150 degrees Celsius, which is 302 Fahrenheit. All right, another good tip for using this hair dryer, blow dryer, is you can make a little oven. A lot of times I am painting parts here in the shop, smaller parts. I want to dry them quickly, and I make a little oven right here out of a cardboard box. So in the bottom of the box, I cut a hole, or in this sense, it's the top of the box. I cut a hole that the hairdryer will fit into. Say these are my parts. I put the box over the top. I put the hairdryer in here. I also sometimes put a hole on the other side of the box, and this is great because, right, you've got 4 different temperatures that you can have this blow dryer going at, and you can kind of regulate the temperature, how hot you want it to get inside. So this is a great use. I've also done this like with a garbage can. I put some stuff in the garbage can, put a piece of cardboard over the top. That, you know, I put a hole in the top. I have air going in. I also have another hole with air coming out. That works too. You can make a little oven out of all kinds of things. But I'm showing you this setup here with this epoxy, because a lot of times I'm doing epoxy work and I want to heat that epoxy up. Sometimes it's cold here in my shop in the wintertime, and epoxy, if you're putting it on a tabletop, will really flow nicely if it's heated up. And here's also Another cool tip, this is a seed germinating mat. Now, I first started using this because I do like making sourdough bread, and this is also great for proofing bread. But a lot of times, I'll put the epoxy down on the heating mat. I'll put these two down just like that. Put this over the top. I'll turn on the heating mat, and I'll let that sit for a few hours. I'll come back, and the epoxy is ready to roll. If I want to go a little quicker, I stick the hairdryer in here. Now, I also know that you can get, this is 1600 watt. You can also get a 1875 watt yellow bird, a little bit bigger hairdryer than this. But I tell you, can't beat this here for $8 at Goodwill. And with this one, I did put this little metal loop on the back side. Now this is great because this is always available here in the shop. I can put it on this little hook, and it's great to just come over here, grab this. I can take it right off, hook it back on there. It's always ready to go. All right, next up is this little mini heat gun, and I do really like this. I don't know what this is, Cubeway. There's several of these brands of little heat guns on Amazon. I will put a link to those. This is only, I think, $17 on Amazon. This is really cheap, and it is a nice little unit. This is actually really good for heat shrink tubing, for heating this up, shrinking it down. It's the right temperature. It does come with this little shield that you can stick on here, and that really helps when you're heating that heat shrink tubing. Okay, on the small heat gun, it looks like we got on the low setting temperature reading of 214 Celsius, which translates over to 417 degrees Fahrenheit. And then on the high setting, we got 280 degrees Celsius, which is 536 Fahrenheit. Now it's interesting because they are advertising this gun to be 392 on the low and 662 on the high. So we're getting a little lower reading of their high temperature. We're only getting up to 536 Fahrenheit. Now, I originally bought this to do these low temp solder connectors where you put this over some stranded wire and you heat up this solder around the wire. It melts down and melts into the wire. Now, this heat gun, this actually really did not do a good job with these. It would melt the heat shrink tubing, but boy, does it take a long time for it to heat that solder and to get that to flow into the wire. So that did not work well for that. So now I just kind of reserve this if I'm just doing heat shrink tubing, because it is really nice that it has this little small shield. That is great for getting into little spots. Sometimes I'm doing that, out in the car, some automotive wires. So a great little tool for that, and $17, a really good little deal. All right, next up on the docket here, we got the Wagner. Now, I'm not attached to any particular brand. I've actually owned like 3 of these Wagners over the years, and it's proved to be a decent heat gun. This is only $30 on Amazon, and this pumps out some really good heat for what it is. It's got high and low. Let's take a look at the temperature readings that I got on it. Okay, on the low end with the Wagner, we got 350 Celsius, which translates to 662 Fahrenheit. And then on the high end, we got 600 degrees Celsius, which is 1,112 Fahrenheit. Now they're advertising right around there, 750 to 1,000 Fahrenheit. So this gun's pretty good. It's got a little bit more kick there. This is getting up over 1,000 degrees. So that is great, right? You can strip paint with this. You can dry paint. I'm also using this to heat up some PVC pipe so I can get that to flex and bend if I'm going around a corner. This is a really nice gun to use this for. I also use this, when I'm doing my leather work with veg tan leather. I'll heat up the leather, and then I will work in the beeswax, and that helps the beeswax melt right into the leather, and it just looks really good. And this does work really good with these solder connector. So this actually does get hot enough. Now I got the heat gun turned on to high, and I'm just gonna hold this right over the center, rotate our wire. And you can see that solder flowing already. And then I usually like to take another piece of heat shrink, slide it right over the top. All right, the Wagner, 30 bucks on Amazon. All right, next up is the cream of the crop here. Now this is a Leister. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I am not Swiss. This is from Switzerland. This is a Triac S. What does it say? CH6056. Now, this is new to me. It's old, but it's new to me. I bought it used from somebody for $150, which is a great deal. I've used this a lot, though. I used to work for a company, and when I was working there, I actually purchased a few for the company so we could work on all kinds of different projects, because this has so many different uses, and it has all these different tips you can put on the top. This one right here is for rubber roofing, TPO rubber roofing seams. You can weld those together. You can also weld together rubber rafts with this if you have the right kind of raft material. These are great, those tips. And then it's got this kind of tip here. This is a 5mm little tip, and this is great for doing plastic welding. A lot of times people are doing a lot of plastic welding with this. You can weld up a bumper, and you can even weld thick 1/2-inch HDPE plastic for like water tanks. Here's a video by LaCroix Cruiser. I'll put a link to their video in the description. What I did a lot was welding together seams of vinyl floors, and they give you these little tips. See this guy here? And this slides onto the top over your little 5mm tip, and then you can feed in some plastic rod, and you can slide this across the seam of some vinyl flooring, and it will seal that up so no water will leak through. But this is an amazing gun, and it has this nice variable temperature. So it's got a little rheostat here on the back. It's got a switch. Okay, and testing the temp of the Leister, we got it up to 675 degrees, 1247 Fahrenheit. And then just out of curiosity, I wanted to test it with a piece of copper behind it to see if it would change. It did not change that much. I could probably get it to the same temperature. And then I put on the 5mm tip where this is concentrating the heat into a small area, and the temperature did go up, 732 Celsius, 1350 Fahrenheit. So that is well above what they advertise. They're advertising 70 to 1290 Fahrenheit. So this is doing really good. It gets really hot. Okay, now a really important tip about this particular gun here is you turn this on, and that's just blowing cold air, and then it's got the little rheostat here, the little dial, and we turn this on, and then we turn it up, and they want you to let this heat up for 3 minutes to let it get up to temperature. And then when you're done, you turn it back down, and then you let this thing run for 5-10 minutes even to let that cool down. Sometimes I like to use my little temperature thermometer deal and just point it out there. I get into the 80s or so, and I know I can shut it off. But that is a good tip, because a lot of people ruin these by not letting that cool down properly, and that will burn out your element. The next time you go to use this, it's not going to work. So you got to let this thing cool down properly. That's a big tip. Now, this also does great at melting these solder connectors. You can see because of this real small tip. All right, so there you go. The Leister heat gun, right? This is kind of the Cadillac of heat guns. This thing's going for about $600, and it depends if you get some attachments to go on the end here. The price goes up and down, and they have lots of different styles of this gun, right? One with a handle, all kinds of different versions. One with rollers on it for doing roofing. You want to do a nice straight seam with it. But this is a great heat gun, right? Time tested, mother approved. You can also get some knockoffs of this on Amazon for like $200, $250. I don't know about those, but maybe you guys do. Maybe you've bought one. Leave something in the comments if those worked out all right or they just burnt out. This also has an element in here that you can change out, and every so often pop this off of the top. It's got 4 screws, and you can blow out the inside just to make sure there's no dust or anything like that inside the element. And like I said, you can buy a new element, put it on. You don't have to throw out the whole gun. It's great. You can get replacement parts for this. So a really nice heat gun right there. All right, well, there we go, right? Anywhere from the Farrah faucet to the Swiss heat gun, and in between with the Wagner and this little mini one. So I will put links to what I can here in the description. Obviously, you're not going to find this, but they do have, right, that Conair Yellow Bird. You can buy that one on Amazon, but it is really expensive. So keep your eyes peeled for one on, you know, Goodwill. Also with this, keep your eyes peeled on Craigslist. I found this on Craigslist, so $150. That's a great deal. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you're doing great, and happy heat gunning. All right, right on. Here's the inspector's sleeping quarters. You getting up?